Welcome to WordPath, the show about Oklahoma Indian languages and the people who are teaching and preserving them. Tonight's show will be the first of, I think, 3, which will feature some excerpts from the recent second annual celebration of Oklahoma Indian language and culture, which was held at the Cleveland County Fairgrounds in Norman on October 22nd. About 300 people came to the fairgrounds to enjoy an evening of stories, songs, poetry, and history. Tonight we'll see presentations by Choctaw's Richard Adams and Brenda Samuels, as well as Euchee's Josephine Bigler and Maxine Barnett. Let's take a look.
is my anthem. Indian tacos are Excuse me. We have a lot of Indian tacos.
This is our second annual celebration of Oklahoma Indian language and culture. To tell you just a little bit about Intertribal Wordpath Society, there's more information at our table over near the center door. We have brochures, and if you didn't get a program for tonight, just to the left of the center door, you can get a program. But basically, we're a nonprofit educational organization, and our whole purpose is to promote Oklahoma Indian languages because we feel they're important, and as most of you who are here probably know, they're all endangered. Just like endangered species, if they die out, that's it. You can't make a language out of a rock any more than you can make a black-capped vireo bird out of a rock. You know, when they're gone, they're gone. And we very much don't want them to go. We basically are, myself and the rest of the board of directors, we are mostly Indian people who are mostly speakers of their own languages from several tribes, and some non-Indians who are linguists and teaching specialists, and we feel like we can put together some of the best kinds of expertise to really help people preserve their languages and teach their languages. We also try to promote Indian languages to the general public, kind of raise people's consciousness about them. A lot of people in Oklahoma don't think there are any more Indian languages. I've had people tell me that when I was teaching university courses. Oh, really? We knew we had Indians, but we didn't know they still spoke their language. And even though the languages are in an endangered state, there are a lot of people who still speak their Indian languages. Thousands of people in this state. And a lot of other people who maybe don't speak them fluently but would like to learn, and they're trying to figure out how to teach themselves and their children so that the languages can continue into the future. So that's what we're all about. If there's anyone here from a language program that would like to have our assistance and any kind of advice or information we can share with them, please contact one of us at our IWS table, or when you buy the Indian tacos, those are mostly IWS people also.
My name is Richard Adam, and I have Brenda Samuel and North Samuel with me. Brenda teaches Choctaw language in the community here in Oklahoma City. She started last week, and I think she has 60 in her class. Norris is a husband that really supports the Choctaw language, and he does a lot of gospel singing, so they do a lot of singing in the area. So we appreciate both of them being in our Choctaw language program. And we have some Choctaw people with us and Choctaw workers with us. We have a Choctaw linguist that's here somewhere. I seen her a while ago. It's Marcia Haig. Okay. And we also have Ron Price and his wife. They work with the Oklahoma Choctaw, and they're a great supporter of our Choctaw people. So I'm a Choctaw language specialist. I work at Durant, the Choctaw headquarters. What I do is I teach the teachers to go out in the community to teach Choctaw language. And right now we have 41 classes in 10.5 county and also outside of our counties. We have school classes in Tulsa, Muskogee, Oklahoma City, Dallas, Ada, and 2 in California. And we also have a telecourse, satellite teaching to Albuquerque and Bakersfield Los Angeles, and San Diego. So we do that each week for 16 weeks, and right after this, when we finish up before the first of the year, we're going to start on our internet. So that's going to be our next project, and we're about 2 or 3 months away from that. So we're proud that we can share Choctaw heritage, cultures, and especially our history, because Choctaw has a lot of good history dating back, way back in 1500. The area that we had at one time was in Mississippi, and a large portion of Mississippi, eastern Louisiana, and western part of Alabama into the Florida. Choctaw has a lot of heritage around in that area. And I was in Florida not too long ago, and around Pensacola, around Destin, and they had their county was Okaloosa County, and all the surrounding places. We had a lot of Choctaw words, so we have a lot of ties in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi. So that was a big area at one time. So, and we used to be mound builders back in 800, or around the Mississippi Valley. We come from what we call Muskogee tribe, linguistic tribe. We have the same dialect as other tribes, which is Creek, Seminole, Chickasaw, and we have Natchez and Hittite and Muskogee tribe. So we have a same dialect that lived around Mississippi Valley, and they built mound at that time. Or we have one in Memphis that we tell people about how the mound was started, because I think over there they cut about 10-foot trench for each layer of dirt that was put on, and each one has a different color to it. So these different colors mean different things, or the lifestyle they had at one time. And I know one of them was a red streak across the earth, and that was like a burnout at that time. So they keep building more dirt on it for their more of their civilization. So I think in contact with the European country, we had contact with the Spanish people and French people and English people. So during that time, I think the disease kind of wiped them out, so they quit building mounds. So that was back in 1000 to 1200 AD, and so we don't see the mound anymore. But they have one in Memphis, Tennessee that they preserved for our history, and they also have one in 2 of them in Mississippi, and we also have one in Sparrow, what we call Sparrow Mound. But I understand that was built by the Caddo tribe. So what you see there is just what that's been taken out. But what's been taken out, you can go to Wool Rock Museum, and they have a replica of how Sparrow Mound used to be. And all this stuff that was taken out, the artifacts that was taken out, is stored on a shelf. So that's a lot of history for Sparrow Mound. That was by the Caddo. I think Caddo tribe used to live in this area a long time ago. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and let Brenda talk to you about our Choctaw traditional dress and a shirt.
So yokoki, oh that's loud, but yokoki means thank you. Halito means hello. And as he displays the dress, the Choctaw dress, I'm going to read this off, and so you can understand why we have the designs and so forth of our dresses. The Choctaw dress is similar to many of the Eastern tribes' traditional dresses. Euchee, Creek, Cherokee, Cattle, Chickasaw, to name a few. The similarities lie in the style of the dress. The style is a variation of the pioneer tear dress, which is over 200 years old. It is named this because you can literally produce every part of the dress by tearing the yardage of material to a specific size. The uniqueness of each tribe is based on the pattern used in the applied decoration of the dress. Dresses are made anywhere from 2 yards to a toddler to 6 yards for an adult. The yardage length of the material used makes a statement of the economic status of the family. The more affluent the family, the more ruffles and gathers were made in the dress, as you can see at the bottom of the dress. The dress is made to be worn open in the back if you are a child or an unmarried young woman, and is worn open in the front if you are married or have children. It is interesting to know that most of the dresses made in Oklahoma and worn by Choctaw women in Oklahoma are worn open in the back. This is possibly from the fact that when the dress was introduced in Oklahoma by visiting Mississippi Choctaw princesses, which were all unmarried young Choctaw women, the seamstress which copied the style of the Choctaw dress also copied the way the dresses were worn. When others see that we have chosen the rattlesnake as one of our symbols of who we are, they will know the Choctaw people and understand why we chose this animal. The rattlesnake design is the most well-known design of the Choctaw people, and it is used quite extensively on the ruffles of the dress and apron as well as the Choctaw shirt.
We got two people that wants to sing with us, the Chickasaw.
This is the original songbook of the Choctaw hymns. It's a small book like this, and it has a Presbyterian's Article of Faith, which I think from what I understand in the history, that they were the missionaries, and along with the Presbyterians, they first published this hymnal. And it's master copies in New York, somewhere. And the title of this is The Holy Spirit. Shalom Sholito Pama Ismeti Polacha Atakil Basha Piyama Istio Palasti Interpretation to the chorus, it goes something like this. He loves me, he loves me, he loves me, this I know. He gave himself to die for me, because he loves me so. Okay.
Well, thank you, Alan. Tawe. Maya Wagiro, Haonka. Lai Tawe. Ta Nange. Jiwe Nika. Good evening. My name is Truman Black, and I'm Oto. We have some posters on sale back here. And I believe they're back at one of the booths here. Oh, okay, right straight back. She's waving. So if you can stop in. Oh, okay. All right. You buy over there and sign back there? $5. Okay. I'm glad to be here. Glad we did it last year. And happy to do it again and do it this year. It's really great. It's something that really needs to be done, especially amongst the tribes. And tribes really need to push it, encourage it, get behind it, speak it in the homes especially. For those of you that know the language, I'll kind of talk about my tribe a little later, but my tribe has just about lost their language. So I'll say in another 10 years, our language will be gone. And it's sad, but true. Okay, Josephine Bagler and Maxine Barnett, you're on.
I'm Josephine Wildcat Bigler, and this is my sister, Maxine Wildcat Barnett. We're full-blood Euchee, and we come from Sepulpa, Oklahoma. That has been our home for as long as we can remember. And we attended the Euchee church where we are still located, where all of my grandmothers, relatives who are now gone. But at that time when the grandmothers were there, our church was Euchee speaking. Our pastors preached in Euchee. All the conversation you heard was in Euchee. Young and old talked in Euchee. But today, it's not so, because the young people don't even know the language. There are probably 8 of us left in the church that know the language. And so you can see that it has dropped way, way off. And that's sad when you think of other tribes who are going through that same process. But I wanted to begin with just a little history, because some of this history will sound very familiar to you because it's impacted your own people. But this is what has impacted the Euchees. Now, the Euchees are enrolled as Muskogee people, Creek Indian. But we're not Creek. We are Euchee. We are full-blood Euchee, but we're enrolled as Muskogee. And that was the federal government's doing. The Muskogee people have their own language, culture, traditions. Euchees have their own language, which is oral. Muskogee people have an alphabet, they have written material. We are still an oral people. And I want to give you a little bit of history because, as I say, this is what has impacted our Euchee people and some other tribal groups. As I say, we were members of the Muskogee Confederacy in the Old South of what is now Florida, Alabama, and Georgia. And maybe the reason the Euchees joined the Confederacy was for protection, to fight off the English people they fought with. The Muskogee fight off the English, and then some other times it might be the French that they were fighting. So it was for a protective stance that they probably joined the Muskogee people. Now, the Euchees maybe at that time, since they lived with the Muskogee, may have been more bilingual. When I say bilingual, maybe they spoke Euchee and Creek when they lived together that way. But today, it is not so, but I can remember in my grandmother's generation, we had 3 or 4 pastors who could speak English, Creek, and Euchee, and once in a while a smidgen of Cherokee. The children were educated on the reservations. The Christian mission education converted the children and hastened the assimilation process. This was the prime reason that the government provided monies. They gave the churches the money to build schools and to convert the children, to civilize them. Now, today the Indians, their conditions have been largely determined by this assimilation process. How church schools and government schools forbade the speaking of one's language or dressing in your own cultural clothes or maintaining any tradition. And we have heard how the students were punished. My own parents went to school at the old Euchee Mission in Savalpa. That was in 1912. And I can recall Mother telling about the students who were punished when, they wanted to speak their own language. That's their first language. And they were punished, and their hair was cut, and they had to wear Western clothes. There are people, young people especially, don't know where they came from. They don't know who they are. They don't speak the language. They don't know anything about their tribal history. They don't know the language. And unless you know your language, you know the beauty of the stories that you hear in your own language. My sister and I had a grandmother who insisted we speak only Euchee while we lived at her house. She insisted that all the children speak Euchee. And today we still have knowledge of our culture and some stories because grandmother was very insistent. She was a beautiful storyteller. And the stories we heard from her were the rabbit, the mischievous rabbit story. And then later as we went to school, we thought, well, this sounds like Brer Rabbit. The stories I heard from grandmother. But they were the same stories that grandmother had told us in Euchee. But we enjoyed them in the Euchee language so much more. And it was only in the wintertime when she told us these stories. So, we're going to, let me also state here that today there, as I said, the people who want to know where they came from, who they are, where they're going. We should know that. And today that many Native organizations, Indian nations, coalitions are making efforts to confront injustices and abuses of treaty rights. And thousands of our Native youth are filling the professional ranks. And we look to them to help in the guardianship of our cultures and treaty rights. And the better educated these young people become, the stronger the advocates they are in maintaining the languages and culture. Now, I'm going to tell you just a short legend. Grandmother always told us the legends in the wintertime when we sat around the old wood stove. And after she told whatever legend, we'd spit into the stove. That was what we did. And this is a story of the story of the ant and the grasshopper. Well, you know how the ant was worried. He worked and gathering his food, preparing for winter. And he saw the grasshopper just playing and dancing around. He told him, you better get busy and gather some food, put it away, because when winter comes, you're going to be hungry. And the grasshopper said, I don't care. I don't need anything. And the ant told the grasshopper, yeah, but when winter comes and you don't have any food, don't come to us. Today we know nane yok aştı. We ada. Today we know we ada lane ha this on wait la. Ala wait we should we got your Austrian on there, Nick, other than you walk in. We just, we still, towards them we know, we are you walk. We still are go ahead. Let your hand, ne keep our gun up, neck Allah us who walk. And then we will sing what we call our number one song. It seems that our songs disappeared, except this one that we sang for so long, and now we have begun to translate some. There are 3 old Euchee hymns in an 1850 Muskogee hymnal, but we are not able to translate the words of the, and we do not know the tune. So we have these more modern, but this one that we will sing probably came with the people from the Old South.
See you next time on WordPath.
Hene, na hene yo hene, ana magwana kita, wa pene manaone kita. Na hene yo hene, na hene yo hene, ana magwana kita, wa pene manaone kita.